year. Now, a special edition over here happens to be, I believe, the Hilula on the 12th day of the Jewish month of Kislev, of a really great rabbi. His name was Rabbi Avraham Dov of Avrush. They're also popularly known for his Torah colossal work with the Bat Ayin, very, very great rabbi of Islam, or to give his full title, Rabbi Avraham Dov Auerbach of Avrush, you could say. Now, he was great rabbi, I think, in Europe for 40 years, and in Tzfat for 10 years, respectively. I think it's rabbi we might have mentioned on various occasions before. He had various different, names in itself, and he was a great rabbi. Reported over, he was born in the year 1760, and he passed away in 1840 in the English month of December, the Hebrew month of Kislev, I believe the 12th of Kislev. He was a great Hasidic rabbi, and really lived towards the end of his life in the city of Tzfat, the holy city, one of the 4 holy cities in Israel. He was author of the Torah great book called the Bat Ayin, respectively. So he was born, I believe, around the time period of 1760. And to Rabbi David Magid Misharim, I think in an area called Chimlik, if I'm not mistaken. Now, it's actually interesting. It really come in of itself with great heritage, great married. It's when Nisal Bitosh Rabbi Natan Nata Maabrish, if I'm not mistaken, a Talmid of the Baal Shem Tov, respectively, the daughter of this great rabbi in himself. Hayat Talmidim Shel Rabbi Menachem Nachum Metron Nobil, I believe. I think we've spoken about him on various occasions before. He was now the Talmud student of the Baal Shem Tov in of itself, and really, really did great stuff. Ubeno Rabbi Mordechai Mitron Nobil, if I'm not mistaken, another great Hasidic rabbi. V'gam Shel Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Meberdichov, if I'm not mistaken. He was one of the great Admorim, let's just say, of the Hasidut community. He was the author of the Kedushat Levi, respectively, and was known as one of the famous rabbis of his time. Now, I think he'll become the rabbi of the cities, I think, of the Zitumir, if I'm not mistaken, and Avartich, if I'm not mistaken, or Avrush, I hope I pronounced that correctly. But he loved Eretz Yisrael, this great rabbi, Rabbi Avraham Dov. He loved Eretz Yisrael. Ahavato le'Eretz Yisrael mishtakavat rabot b'sifro bat Ayin. I think very much epitomizes written over B'Shanat Heitav Kuf Tzadik Aleph Ala le'Eretz Yisrael. He would eventually make Aliyah, I think around the 1830ish time period, to the land of Israel. Imigul Aretz Yishtaken b'Tzfat. He would actually go on to live in the holy city of Tzfat, place we've spoken about on various occasions before. Remember, there were 4 holy cities in Israel, including Jerusalem, Hebron, Tiberias, and once again also Tzfat. That's something that we have to point about over here in this class over here. So, Imigiul Aretz Yishtaken b'Tzfat, as we said before. Sham nitkabel b'kavod rab al yidei eidat Hasidim. So the Hasidic congregation over there would very, very much welcome him with huge open arms. Shminu Lerabba Shel Haida. I think there was someone named Dr. Eliezer Halevi, Maskiro Shel Moshe Montefiore, would actually recount over various things, and he's been quoted. We've spoken about Moshe Montefiore here on this series on various occasions. One of the famous philanthropists in Jewish history, and Dr. Eliezer Halevi was, and I think, an educator, British, if I'm not mistaken. He happens, I believe, was a famous man of itself. Eliezer Halevi was. I think we mentioned him, also known as, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Louis Lou. I think he was a director of the Judith Theological College for 20 years. He was a member of the Royal Asiatic Society and the Asiatic Society of Paris, if I'm not mistaken, and Numismatic Society. He was a famous rabbi. I think he very well decorated rabbi that would learn and study in the University of Berlin, if I'm not mistaken, and would have closeness to the Duke of Sussex and Sir Sidney Smith, if I'm not mistaken. Very well travelled. He was very well much connected to Sir Moses Montefiore, and one of the great philanthropists of the time, and various different works, I should say, would come over. He would actually be an author of many different Torah colossal works. That's something we'll point out in regards to him. Now, friends, anyone tuning in live, we're exploring a bit about the great Rabbi Avraham Dov, Maabritzch, and it happens to be his Hilula over here on the 12th of Kislev over here. and much more can be said with regards to him. I think it was כמו 1834, התחולל מרד הפלאחים נגד גזירת הגיוס של מוחמד עלי, שליט מצרים. So what's going on over here? I think it was around the time period of 1834 that there was a conscription decree, let's just say, of Muhammad Ali at that point in time, and there was a lot of problems that would take place in Tzfat, something that we're going to recount over and say over in the coming minutes over here. בח' חשוון, I think it was 15th of June, נכנסו הפורעים לצפת, בזזו את נכסי התושבים. It would destroy, I think, some of these terrible people, the possessions of the people. הפשיטו את בגדיהם, והשאירו רק בגד דק לאורם. לרבי אברהם דוב אף לא השאירו בגד, והצטרכו לשלוח לו מטבריה בגד. הוא הסתתר לאחר מכן בחצר הקאדי, קדם עוד מאות יהודים, אך לאחר מספר ימים פינה הקאדי מחצרו חלק מהשוהים, בהם גם חבורות רבי ישמעאל משקולוב. רבי אברהם דוב ברח לחורבה ליד צפת. He would actually flee over there. ובעת ממון שנשאר בבגדה של אשתו, קנו מעט לחם ושמן מהם, התקיימו במשך תקופה היותם בשבע. כשרבי אברהם דוב מחלק מלחמו לשוהים עמו. עד י' תמוז, it was until the 10th תמוז, לאחר שרבי ישראל משקולוב ישתדל אצל הסולטנות, הצליחו להשתחרר, יום י' בתמוז, the 10th תמוז, נקבע לפורים ביום הודיה לדורות. הרב אברהם דוב פנה במכתב לשר משה מונטפיורי בבקשה עזרה לשיקום היישוב היהודי בצפת. במרד הדרוזים בשנת תקצ"ח התנגד הרב אברהם דוב לעזיבת צפת. אליעזר הלוי העיד שהרב עונה על ידי חוטפיו וסיכן את נפשו מול ימי רצח. So it's just encapsulating very much what was actually stated over, what's actually translated over in Wikipedia with regards to how he had to flee a ruin, I think, near Tzfat with very little money, I think he had at that point in time, and he was able to buy just a little bit of bread and oil, from which that will actually, they were in the captivity at some specific point in time. There was a connection with Rabbi Yisrael of Shkolov at that point in time, and he would distribute the small amount of breads that he had with other people. And I think later on, when they were eventually released, I think it was celebrated as a Purim, let's just say, of Thanksgiving at that stage in time. We're going to speak about this in the coming minutes also. So I think Eliezer Halevi will very much testify to what the, let's just say, the torments and trials and tribulations and trials and toughnesses, let's just say, that the great rabbi had in his life at that stage in time. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, B'shnat Hafresh Aleph, Parza Megafe B'tzfat, Asher Bidlach Alim Rabim. I think there was a plague that would take place in Tzfat, which really caused of casualties. And it's something we're going to speak about in the coming minutes. I think he was a very, very, very great rabbi of his time. That's something that we have to point over, and much is actually recounted over on him on this day. There's actually a very good article actually from the Ascent of Tzfat website, or the Ascent of Safed.com website over here, where they relate over that Rabbi Avraham Dov Auerbach of Avrush was a great rabbi in Europe for 40 years and in Tzfat for 10 years. Before that, he had been a disciple of Rabbi Levi of Yitzchak of Berdichov, and the first two rabbis, let's say, of the Chernobyl dynasty, which we mentioned about beforehand. One of his disciples was famous Rabbi Shmuel Heller, who was a chief rabbi of Tzfat. His famous book, the Bat Ayin, was written in Europe, but he would refuse to allow it to be printed until he could bring it to the heir of the land of Israel and it would be refined over there, let's just say. He would have a meeting, famously, as we mentioned before, with Sir Moses Montefiore. I think that was in the year 1840. Will lead to, let's say, the beginning of modern Jewish agricultural settlement in Israel. I think it was in 1830. He was about, if I'm not mistaken, 65 years of age. There's varying different opinions. Some people say that he was when Wikipedia states he was born in the year 1760. That would make him 70 years of age. I think at that time, Rabbi Avraham Dov of Avrush would settle in the holy city of Tzfat. But I think he waited many years for the opportunity to, let's say, bring the spiritual light of the land of Israel. Once there, he found life in the Holy Land, I think, more tricky. I think the hardships were apparent, while the holiness of land was hard to discern, the website says over there. I think when he felt he could, it was more on the tough spectrum, he began thinking about returning maybe to Avrush. It was tough times there at that stage in time, where he had been the rabbi since 1785. It was many, many years, the rabbi over there. And he would, he would also remember the relatives he left and students behind in order to live to another land. But I think there were toughnesses in Eretz Israel. When Rabbi Avraham Dov reached a decision to return to Europe, the rainy season in Israel was approaching. And one day, as I think he was walking to the synagogue, it's reported over for the Mincha Tfilah, the afternoon prayer, he heard noises coming from the surrounding rooftops. He couldn't identify the strange sounds, so he asked the townspeople he passed for an explanation. And they were amused that he didn't know. Here in Tzfat, they explained, we have a custom of performing household chores on our flat roofs, apparently. We also use the roofs for storing food and other household supplies. The noise you hear is caused by women scurrying about, removing everything from the roofs. But why are you doing that? The rabbi would ask. The great rabbi would say, why? So that nothing gets ruined by the rain, of course, was, let's say, the reply. But Rabbi Avraham Dov was still confused. He looked up at the sky, as blue as a sea, when there are no waves in the sight. It certainly doesn't look like rain, he said, hoping for some more clarification. Surely you remember that tonight will be the seventh of the month of Mar Cheshvan, month of Cheshvan, when we start to say the tefillah, the prayer for rain. We beg, we beseech God to be merciful and send benign rain to water our crops and provide water for us. Since we are sure that our Hashem, our Father in heaven, will hear our tefillot, our prayers, and will heed our requests, we take some precautions so that our possessions won't be ruined when the rain comes. The unquestioning faith of the people affected the rabbi deeply. Suddenly his eyes were opened and he saw the sublime heights of faith achieved by simple Jews of the Holy Land. His pain and disappointment were replaced by a sense of awe at the holiness, kedusha, of the land and its people. At that moment, he abandoned all thoughts of returning to Avrush and began a new leg of his spiritual journey to the land of Israel, which is very phenomenal over here. Now, friends, anyone tuning in live, we're exploring the life of a really great rabbi over here. So, great European rabbi. I'm just going to take a short half-minute break. I'm going to come back and explore a bit more within regards to this great Chacham, European Chacham, who was really make let's just say, a great impression on Jewish life, and so many people mark the Hilul today. So I'll just be half a minute, and I'll come back in half a minute, friends, just for a short break. Shalom everyone, thanks for having the patience to wait. We're exploring the history of a great European rabbi over here that would live in Tzfat towards the end of his life. So welcome everyone that you are new to the channel, to the community over here. Now we are speaking about a great rabbi, Rabbi Avraham Dov. It happens to be his Hilula here on the 12th of Kislev. So we're talking about just right now that how he would abandon, like he was planning to leave Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, but he would decide to stay afterwards, and he became established as a leader of Tzfat's Hasidic community. I think he was a chief rabbi, let's just say, of the Ashkenazic community of Tzfat at that point in time. And I think there was a letter dated on the 13th of Tammuz in the year 1838. A Dr. A. Lowy, Sir Moses Montefiore's secretary, who we've spoken about before, will write the following about Rabbi Avraham Dov. This man is one of the most learned and esteemed people I have ever seen. It is a simple matter for him to serve the community without receiving any recompense from the communal funds. He distributes everything that he has to the poor of his people. There are always between 10 and 15 people eating regularly at his table. I think this was actually quoted in Vilna in 1862. I think in 1838, as we said before in Hebrew, he was kidnapped by the vicious Druze who were then perpetrating a pogrom in Tzfat. And they had done also in 1834, 4 years beforehand. They ordered him to write a ransom note to his community, but he refused. The Druze then put him in a sack and began to beat him. Now, when they thought they heard in the distance the hoofbeats of approaching Egyptian cavalry, they fled, leaving the rabbi tied in the sack. He was later found and returned to Tzfat. But what he is most famous for, besides his monumental book of great Hasidic thought, the Bat Ayin, respectively, is his part in the earthquake miracle of 1837. Now, there was a deadly earthquake on the 24th of Tevet in the year 5597, January the 1st, 1837. 5,000 people lost their lives, of whom 4,000 were Jewish people, more than 80% of the community. It was between the afternoon and evening tefillot prayers, when most of the men were in synagogue, that the tremors and rumblings suddenly came. Of all Tzfat synagogues, only two remained standing, the Ari Sephardi and the Abu Hav, and many hundreds of Jewish people. A prayer perished under the collapsed debris. In the synagogue of the Avrush, the Rabbi, as elsewhere, panic would set in, and the congregation began to bolt for the outdoors. "Come to the ark if you wish to be saved," shouted the rabbi in a powerful voice. Immediately, everyone crowded around him. The rabbi threw himself on the ground, praying and weeping. Local tradition, I think, records that although most of the building collapsed, the parts where the men were clustered remained upright, and everyone was saved. A plaque outside the synagogue today testifies to this great miracle. The line between the original structure over the ark and the reconstructed portion is clearly visible. One source, I think, in the Eden Sion, states that while nearly all the walls collapsed, the doomed ceiling miraculously remained aloft, almost as if it was suspended in the air. Now, I think just before Rabbi Avraham Dov passed away, in the epidemic, I think, of 1840, on the 12th day of the Jewish month of Kislev, he announced that he would be the last life claimed by the terrible plague, and so it was. So we've spoken about this on various occasions. For I think apparently this information which I was given from the Ascent of Safford website was adapted by Yerachmiel Tillis from the Anaf Etz Avot Lachaim 527 of Tzfat and the mystical city of Tzfat, respectively. It'll be a very, very interesting article. I really want at one stage, Be'ezrat Hashem, that we will record a video on the history of the Jewish community of Tzfat and explore who were the rabbis over all these years, who were the great rabbis of a previous time period. We've already learned about Rav Isaac Luria, also known as Ari HaKadosh, was one of the prominent Kabbalists of Tzfat, for example. Rav Yosef Karo was a great rabbi in Tzfat, also the author of the Code of Jewish Law. I think, let's say, it's most accepted guide, let's just say, to Jewish practice. And another famous rabbi in Tzfat was Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz, a Kabbalist, poet, who composed the Lech Adodi Piyut in himself. Rav Chaim Vital, the Talmid of Rabbi Isaac Luria's, he was his primary student. He was author of great teachings like the Tree of Life, the Etz Chaim, in of itself, and ensuring the transmission of Lirena Kabbalah. Rabbi Yaakov Beirov, another great scholar, he was great rabbi in Tzfat, respectively, over there, and various other great rabbis. I think currently, for example, Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu is the current Sephardic chief rabbi of Tzfat and a member of the Chief Rabbinate Council of Israel. Rabbi Eliezer Ernest is another great rabbi over there that really specializes in Nida, family purity. A Chabad mystery in current day, if I'm not mistaken, is in Tzfat, is someone named Rabbi Chaim Kaplan, if I'm not mistaken, that does fantastic, let's just say, a community work over there, and very, very important education and the cure of work in of itself. It will definitely be a dream of mine, an ambition of mine, to record a video about who were the great rabbis of Tzfat of yesteryear. They also had, very interesting enough, various different mayors also, which is chronicled over. That's something that we'll definitely stay over. Hopefully at one stage we'll visit Tzfat also, and try and explore all the different synagogues there is, the sights, the scenes, and really explore and appreciate it in of itself. There's so much to say that we could say within regards to it, and I think currently Rav Shmuel Eliyahu is a rabbi of Tzfat, if I'm not mistaken. So we spoke about it, and I think Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, another famous rabbi. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's another famous rabbi in Tzfat was Rabbi Ben Yahu Bronner, if I'm not mistaken. He was another famous key figure in the holy city in of itself. He was born in 1961. I think he was a president of Yeshivat Hesed Tzfat, if I'm not mistaken, or currently is. So that's something very, very much interesting also to learn about. And friends over here, we're a community here as we explore about great rabbis of yesteryear. We've already recorded at the moment 1,400 biography videos of great rabbis of yesteryear over here on this channel over, which is a phenomenal achievement, friends. So I'd recommend everyone to look at the stories of tzaddikim section here on this channel, and we're going to learn more about them. I think also other great rabbis that were chief rabbi Tzfat include Rabbi Shlomo Goren, the famous rabbi. He was the chief rabbi between, I believe, 1948 to 1971, and other notable rabbis, chief rabbis of Tzfat, was Rabbi Mordechai Piron, Rabbi Gad Navon, Rabbi Eyal Karim. I think interesting enough, and Tzfat has two chief rabbis. I think one would represent the Sephardic community, and the other chief rabbi would represent the Ashkenazic community, taking on various different, let's say, important roles within regards to that. There's another great website out there, Safed, and then with a dash, home.com, and they talk about the various great personalities of yesteryear, including not just Rav Shlomo Auerbach, who we spoke about before. He lived between 1505 to 1584, and Ari HaKadosh and Rav Yosef Karo. Another great rabbi from Tzfat was Rabbi Moshe Alshech, who lived between 1508 to 1593. He was actually received a smicha, a rabbinic ordination from Rav Yosef Karo, and would sit in the Bet Din of Tzfat and found a synagogue for Moranos, respectively. We spoke about Rabbi Chaim Vital also, but there were many great rabbis of yesteryear, and hopefully we'll get a entire, let's just say, encyclopedia at one stage in time. And there were many great Sephardi chief rabbis, if I'm not mistaken, of Tzfat, especially in the 19th century, very famous ones, hopefully we'll speak about before. They include Rabbi Reuben Behar Baruch, I think in 1800, Rabbi Avraham Cohen, Rabbi Avram Anhori, another great rabbi, Rabbi Chaim Mizrahi, another rabbi we spoke about before on the series, Rabbi Raphael Maman, Rabbi Menashe Seton, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Shmuel Abo, who was also, I think if I'm not mistaken, a consular agent of France for 33 years, Rabbi Solomon Chazan, or Rabbi Shlomo Chazan, and Rabbi Yosef Hakim, if I'm not mistaken, and Rabbi Yaakov Hai Abo, really great rabbi. Rabbi Moses Mazan, I think, also, Maman, will also be a great rabbi. Ashkenazic chief rabbi. It wasn't just Rabbi Avraham Dov Bear who was speaking about here today. Also, there's Rabbi Shmuel Heller, or Rabbi Samuel Heller, also respectively. So, really great rabbis, and hopefully at one stage in time, we will record a video about the entire, we'll try and encompass a history video within regards to Tzfat, also respectively. So, very, very interesting. And one of the few places you're going to hear all this content about friends over here. As we're a community, we like to explore Jewish history over here on this website, and especially within regards to Eretz Israel, is always very, very let's say, inviting topic in of itself, very exciting topic, and something that we're going to do. The plan is to maybe record a video on all the 4 different holy cities of Israel, Bezrat Hashem. That's one ambition of ours that hopefully we're going to be able to do over maybe the next coming months, also as we explore all the different countries. Also, now friends, we're a community. Friends, subscribe to the channel now if you can. We've got fantastic content over here, and we've just with the goal is to get to 8,000 members, hopefully before the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. So Bezrat Hashem, I'm confident that we can do that. Obviously, we're going from strength to strength at the moment, and we've got a lot of great content over here. You fantastic people. That's something I definitely have to stress here from the outset. And we want to go from strength to strength and learn more and educate ourselves more. I've recorded over inside this series already, I believe, nearly 1,400 biography videos of great Chachamim of yesteryear. Today we are exploring the Rabbi. We speak mostly on this channel about Sephardi rabbis from Eight Mizrach, or from Ottoman countries, or from Spanish countries, to be honest with you. But it's always good to speak about some European-born and homebred, let's just say, rabbis in of itself, and how important actually it is over here. And very, very proud of this video. Now, friends, if anyone feels that we should speak about a specific rabbinic personality here on this series, please let me know more information. Who should we speak about? If we haven't, if you look at the stories of the Tzaddikim section, please let me know who you feel we've left out, and if you want me to record a video on them, we'll see what we can do. That will definitely be something I will state on the outset over here. So very, very interesting. Now, friends, also on this channel, we record a daily Talmud tidbit. That's in the project. We're very, very much excited about that. We're doing over here and really going from, let's just say, from leaps and bounds, and really making fantastic progress. And I think that's something very, very important to state over many, many different great, let's just say, great Torah contents. We're trying to do as much as we can over here, as many of you will definitely know. Now, we also record tours all over Israel in the series, so if you haven't watched it yet, you're welcome to see it. Another very exciting project that we're doing is that we are recording at the moment with a great Jewish personality of current year, like let's just say as something inspirational, or many of them were rabbinic personalities, some great Jewish personalities respectively. Also, we are really achieving huge amounts, so that's something I would definitely point over, and something I would definitely stress over here on the outset. Now, friends, if you like my content, please send me an email. I would really appreciate to hear more information, where you guys from, and so on and so forth. I think that will be, I really, really appreciate to hear all this information, and hopefully we can converse and speak at one stage in time, and watch over all the previous videos. And we're going to be, this week, it's going to be Parshat Vayishlach, this Shabbat coming. That's something I will definitely stress over from the site. It's already the 8th Torah portion in the book of Bereshit, so something very, very much to be excited about and to learn about. And we hope we're going to see you all soon, and wish you all a great day. Take care, and thanks for watching, and be blessed, everyone. Thanks very much, and please subscribe to the channel also if you've managed it this far to our video. Thanks.